Global alert. Russia is defending its secret weapon. The United States and its NATO allies are still pressuring Russia to ban its Tsirkon hypersonic missile. In response to these requests, Maria Zakharova, spokeswoman for the Russian Foreign Ministry, issued a firm response. She emphasized that if NATO does not understand diplomatic language, Russia will communicate with Tsirkons, referring to its willingness to use new technologies to defend its interests. Russia has repeatedly responded to protests from the United States and NATO, demanding the removal of the Tsirkon from active service. These demands have been presented on several occasions, including attempts to ban this missile in the UN Security Council. Recently, the British newspaper The Telegraph published a new series of similar demands. Despite these pressures, Russia has continued to modernize its hypersonic missiles and has equipped its military fleet with them, which has exposed weaknesses in NATO naval forces. The United States and NATO maintain that the Tsirkon was designed specifically against them, which is one of the main reasons for their complaints. Maria Zakharova has pointed out that the West considers it unacceptable for Russia to challenge the naval supremacy of NATO and the United States, but has made it clear that they will not give in to such demands. The spokeswoman stressed that Russia will not ban the missile and will return the complaints to Washington and Brussels, since their attempts to pressure Russia or request concessions under the threat of the Tsirkons will not work. In addition to demanding the withdrawal of the Tsirkon, the United States has also requested to inspect Russian railway lines and prohibit the production of trains, especially the BZHRK Bargazin ballistic missile system. Interestingly, some technical features of this complex were shared with the United States during the Gorbachev and Yeltsin era, when the dismantling of these trains was agreed upon under a treaty. Fortunately, experienced Russian patriots managed to prevent the destruction of these advances, which allowed the development of the system to resume in 2013. In 2021, after completing operational tests of the BZHRK, the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, reported that this mobile nuclear system began operating in Russia. Finding these trains in the vast Russian territory has been almost impossible, as they move through a rail network of more than 53,000 miles. Currently, 3 of these complexes are in active service and ready to fulfill their missions. The first successful launch went unnoticed by NATO satellite systems, which alarmed the Pentagon. From Washington, Russia has been accused of violating international agreements by deploying mobile nuclear weapons across the continent. The appearance of these armed trains has revived fears among Western leaders, who see an impending arms race. The leader of North Korea spent a week in Russia, which raised speculation about what issues were discussed, especially possible collaboration in the development of train-based mobile missile complexes. It is possible that China and North Korea have been watching the Russian system with interest. These complexes have the ability to launch missiles from any point on the rail network, which greatly enhances their flexibility and strategic effectiveness. Historically, fixed missile silos were vulnerable, since their locations could be revealed by satellites or spies. Attacks on fixed silos were considered a priority because these facilities were easy to locate and attack with modern tactical weaponry. In response to these vulnerabilities, the Soviet Union developed mobile systems to prevent the enemy from being able to predict missile launches. In the 1980s, the USSR began building missile trains, whose purpose was to conceal the location of the missiles and allow their deployment from anywhere in the country's vast rail network. These trains were designed to look like civilian trains, although they required additional locomotives due to the weight of the military equipment. The ability of these trains to move and launch missiles from anywhere made them a strategic threat difficult to neutralize. Although the United States also experimented with missile trains in the past, its projects were abandoned due to high costs and logistical difficulties. However, in 1986, faced with the success of Soviet systems, the United States again studied the possibility of developing mobile missile complexes, although the project never fully materialized. Currently, Russia has re-implemented missile trains as part of its nuclear deterrence strategy. These systems are capable of moving across the country from St. Petersburg to the most remote areas, keeping its nuclear arsenal in constant motion and therefore out of reach of enemy detection systems. This development has generated intense debate, even within Russia, about whether the country is complying with international agreements that limit the deployment of nuclear weapons. The West, especially NATO, has demanded to inspect Russian railway lines to verify the existence of strategic missiles, to which Russia has responded by suggesting reciprocal inspections in the United States. Lavrov, Russia's foreign minister, has pointed out that they are closely watching US activities in Nevada, where nuclear tests are being conducted with technology developed 40 years ago. Despite international pressure, Russia has shown an increasingly firm stance. It has responded with strong political and economic decisions, such as the increase in tariffs on timber exports, which has provoked a reaction from European countries that threaten to go to the World Trade Organization. Likewise, Russia has deployed part of its tactical nuclear arsenal in Belarus as a symbolic response to the redeployment of missiles in NATO countries. Finally, it is important to note that Russia has resurrected its BZHRK missile train program, a system that has proven to be a key component in its nuclear triad, and will continue to play a crucial role in its defense strategy in the future. As we look ahead to the future of Russia's missile train program, we must also consider the broader geopolitical landscape. President Vladimir Putin's role in the ongoing conflict with Ukraine and his confrontation with the West has been paramount. Under Putin's leadership, Russia has employed a combination of political maneuvering, military strategies, and economic resilience to circumvent the pressures and sanctions imposed by Western nations. Key decisions made by Putin, such as the annexation of Crimea and support for separatist movements in eastern Ukraine, have significantly escalated tensions on the world stage. Despite facing international condemnation and economic sanctions, Putin has maintained a firm stance, showcasing Russia's military capabilities and strategic innovations, such as the BZHRK missile trains, as symbols of defiance and strength. This chapter will explore how Putin's actions have shaped the current geopolitical climate and what this means for the future of global security.